Shana Tova. This is Rabbi Dan Selsberg here at Temple Sholom in Bridgewater, New Jersey. Just came in for Rosh Hashanah to record the first Rosh Hashanah sermon. This is Under the Table and Dreaming, and I'll say that this is inspired by Rabbi Eddie Feinstein because I have that in my footnotes, but those footnotes don't show up. As a well-known story, you might have heard it before. The king and queen had everything that they could ask for. They ruled a mighty, secure, and vast kingdom. They loved their subjects, and they were beloved by their people in return. Their laws were just, their economy robust, and their frontiers were peaceful. And when the king and queen were blessed with an heir, they had a beautiful son, and they were bursting with joy and with gratitude. But as he grew up, the boy began to act in unexpected and unusual ways. By the time he was an adolescent, he said he was not a person, he was a chicken. He would not eat at the palace table, he ate under the table, for chickens don't eat at tables. He didn't eat at the royal feast served each day, he pecked at seeds under the table because chicken do not eat off royal china. And he wouldn't wear his majestic princely robes, he crouched naked under the table, because what chicken wears fine velvet robes? And speak, he clucked. So the king and queen were beside themselves. How could this be? They tried everything they could think of to convince their boy to change, but nothing worked. They called in doctors and wizards. They called in magicians and therapists. That's how you know it's a Jewish story. Nothing worked. Finally, out of options, they called the rabbi. The rabbi said, I think I can help, but it's going to be unusual. The parents said, fine, we're desperate. So the rabbi undressed, got under the table, began clucking like a chicken, and pecking at seeds on the floor. The boy looked at him, he smiled, and continued to do the same. Days passed, and they clucked and pecked. Finally, the rabbi says, all this clucking hurts my throat. Let's talk instead. But we're chickens, the boys said. We'll still be chickens, the rabbi said. We'll just be chickens who talk like people. All right, the boy said. They went back to pecking. Next day, the rabbi said, I'm cold. Let's put on clothes. But we're chickens, the boys said. So we'll be chickens who dress like people, the rabbi said. He gave a signal, and the clothing was brought. Following day, the rabbi says, all this chicken feed is hurting my stomach. Let's eat some food that the royal chef serves. We're chickens, the boys said. So we'll be chickens who eat like people. The rabbi gave a signal. The food was brought. Days passed. The rabbi finally said, all this time hunched under the table hurts my back. Let's get out from under here. We're chickens. So we'll be chickens who walk like men. And together, they got up. This is a story told by the Hasidic master, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. It has many, many meanings, and many of you, I hope, have heard it before, but we hear it different ways at different times. Today I want to read it as a parable for our lives, the lives that we assess every Rosh Hashanah. I get emails from my auto garage when my car needs service. If I don't keep to the maintenance schedule, the car won't run as well as it could. It won't last as long as it can. I get update requests on my computer from Apple, update requests from my phone, 142 times a day, every day. And I get nudged by my wife to schedule regular checkups with the doctor. All this makes sense. And it's the same reason why the Jewish tradition requires us, no less than once a year, to do a cheshbon nefesh, a check of our souls, to look under the hood, clear out the sludge, get rid of any viruses that might affect our soul's ability to do what it is capable of doing now and in the future. So we live in a time when we find ourselves speaking two different languages, not unlike the parents and child in the story. This is true in our personal lives, in our families, between friends, and a community. We sometimes find ourselves completely baffled by words and behavior that seems perfectly natural to others. It also is manifestly true on a national level. What seems normal and obvious to one group seems bizarre and inexplicable to others. And instead of having a reasoned conversation about it, we look at each other as if the other has lost it. Or more likely, we shout at each other, or even more likely, We shout about each other because we wouldn't actually be in the same room as somebody whose views we so disagreed with. It's true about politics. This was most evident over the summer when the political conventions often spoke past each other. And in the debate such as it is, less and less frequently sounds like a conversation where ideas and points on a common topic are exchanged. It's true on matters of race. Even at this late date, there continues to be a great divide in how Americans report their experience of being American, depending on the color of their skin. It's true about religion, between traditional believers and those who are more liberally inclined, and those who are secular, and it's true between religions. I've spent enough time around Jews to know that when there's yelling, it's not always because we're angry. Sometimes we just yell instead of talk. But lately, some of that yelling is actual yelling. So it's an interpersonal problem, it's an American problem, it's a Jewish problem, but the Jewish tradition asks us to take a different path. For 3 years, the Talmud teaches, for 3 years, the two great schools of thought in ancient Israel argued. They argued over what? It doesn't say. All we know is they argued over something important enough to argue about for 3 years, that each believed not only that they were right, but that God was literally on their side, and that the other side was opposed to the desires of the master of the universe. Halalu omrim halacha kmotenu, halalu omrim halacha kmotenu. This side said the laws as we say, and that side said the laws as we say. Yatza bat kol va'amra, elu v'elu divrei Elohim ha'chaim hen. And a voice from heaven, a bat kol, broke out and said, both these and these are the words of the living God. So this is a pivotal point in Jewish thought. What started out as a small tribal faith, suspicious of outsiders and more comfortable with uniformity, we became a people that regards debate as sacred. Not only that, but our understanding of God became one where explicitly God holds, respects, and knows to be true mutually exclusive thoughts. The God we seek to imitate, it turns out, is a pluralist and has been for some thousands of years. As a people, we think one side is right and one is wrong. But God is more subtle than that, more multifaceted than that. That doesn't mean that everyone is right, but a well-reasoned position merits respect. And that means not only must we think through our views and ensure that they're reasonable and defensible, and not just the product of our biases and interests, but it means more than that. It means that if we care enough to argue, we have to learn the other side's views as well as we know our own. You can't go with the stereotype that partisan media outlets or the echo chamber of Facebook feeds give. Because in the story of the Talmud, the divine voice says, Elu ve'elu, both are the words of the living God. But God continues, saying the law goes with Beit Hillel. Why? If both are right, and God cared enough to point that out, why does one side win? The Talmud teaches that the students of Beit Hillel were kind and gracious and studied their views and their opponents' views and stated their opponents' views first and respectfully. Notice, God does not favor Beit Hillel because they are more right than Beit Shammai. On the contrary, they are not. But they are more respectful. And that, the Jewish tradition teaches, is what, so to speak, wins the heart of God. Knowing your own views is essential, but the tradition teaches that knowing your opponent's views is equally important, and acting graciously to others no less so. We live in a time when respectful exchanges of ideas are increasingly hard to come by. The Jewish tradition's expansive view of debate and of the divine ability to respect mutually contradictory views is part of what we need to contribute to our society. In our tradition, it's personal. The Talmud teaches that what a true friend does not just tell you that you're right. The true friend doesn't just tell you you're right, but tells you why you're wrong, and does so in a way that you can understand. We need those kind of interactions. It doesn't mean that you argue, or that you think the other side's views are kosher. Our differences are real and significant, but we do have to realize that in politics, in any part, we are all Americans seeking the best for our country as we understand it. In religion, We are all Jews devoted to the sacred work of continuing the millennia-long history of our covenant, our Brit, to build a world of justice and mercy, and in our personal lives, we seek meaningful relationships and fulfilling paths. We are not made more right by repeating that the other is wrong. We are the descendants and heirs, and we are meant to be like Beit Hillel, not content to be merely correct, but steadfast, respectful, and honorable, and knowledgeable about all sides. We do this by striving to understand the world from the perspective of the other. The principle to be kept in mind is to know that we see. The principle to be kept in mind is to know what we see rather than to see what we know, writes Abraham Joshua Heschel. To know what we see rather than to see what we know. Which is to say, that when Simon and Garfunkel sing that a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest, that's a bias to be overcome, not a fate to be accepted. Now that we can carefully curate our information feeds to confirm our existing views, the explosion of information in the internet age ironically can narrow our world instead of expanding it. Corporations actually develop complex, expensive algorithms to ensure that we don't encounter sources that don't conform to our existing habits. In the best of the Jewish tradition, this is something to be lamented and overcome. In the 2nd century of the Common Era, the great sage Rabbi Yochanan was made great in part by his relationship with his brilliant student Resh Lakish. For years, the Talmud says, they spent hours studying together, and Resh Lakish challenged every point his teacher made, and Rabbi Yochanan was forced to parry. One day, Rabbi Yochanan thoughtlessly dredged up an embarrassing event from the past and humiliated Resh Lakish with a cutting public remark. Resh Lakish left the study hall, never to return. Rabbi Yochanan's students tried to make up for his absence by offering more and more evidence to support Rabbi Yochanan's views, and Rabbi Yochanan, it says, plaintively cried out, "Where is my friend Resh Lakish? When I would say something, he would give 24 objections. I would counter with 24 solutions, and knowledge would be broadened. But you only tell me why I'm right. Haven't I already thought about that?" Then the teacher weeps in front of his students, crying out, "Where have you gone, Resh Lakish? Where have you gone?" We're told that, in an unhappy ending, Rabbi Yochanan never recovered. This is the heart of the Jewish tradition, crying out for challenging dialogue to prevent us from becoming lazy in our views. We know that in respectfully challenging each other, we are all made better. We're supposed to guard against what is called confirmation bias, the tendency to accept as true facts that support our pre-existing views and reject as false anything that challenges them. If I think, say, that Israelis are rude when I visit, I'm more likely to notice instances that confirm my pre-existing idea, and the myriad acts of kindness I encounter along the way get easily forgotten. From Rabbi Yochanan to Warren Buffett, who publicly invites the opinion of investors who think he's wrong, to the scientist who allows new evidence to alter previously held beliefs, the best among us pause and wonder, maybe, just maybe, we're wrong on this one. The Kotzker Rebbe says that human beings do not lower ourselves by our failures, but by the alibis we invoke. In our personal lives, who are we writing off because they don't fit the mold we imagined for them? In our family lives, who have we not cultivated the best possible relationship with because their approach to life is different from our own? And in interpersonal relations, if you had the other's experience and not your own, would it be reasonable to come to the conclusions that they have come to? Can we be like Beit Hillel, concerned not only with being right, but with being decent, kind, well-informed, and respectful as well? Can we stand up for our views and contradict others without insult or personal attack? According to the bulk of the Jewish tradition, that is the standard that is asked of us. Too often, we are the parents of the clucking child. We look at the other and we do not understand. Sometimes we're like the boy, unable or unwilling to understand the reality that surrounds us, and we become alienated from those we love and care for as a result. And I say all this not because I'm good at it, because I'm not. I struggle with this every day, in my personal and in my public life. I often forget that, like the rest of us, I'm supposed to be the rabbi in this story. To gain trust, we must first trust. To gain understanding, we must first seek understanding. To affect change, we must understand the reasons others might desire change and suggest reasons that accord with their reality, not with ours. And if we don't, if we are content with the self-satisfied feeling that we're right, others are wrong, and that's all there is to it, then we, as Jews, have given up the feast that is one of the world's great traditions for table scraps, for chicken feed. If we cannot exemplify broadness of mind and understanding, then we are denuded. We're crouching down low, cowering under the table, and not walking upright, the full dignity we can have, with the dignity that we need to share with each other and with the world. Being right makes us feel nice, but stopping there leads to a colder society. Here, now, America in 2016, 5777. We are in need of the wisdom of a tradition that values reasoned debate. It feels nice to bask in our own righteousness, but we gather every year during these high holy days to question our thoughts, our actions, our motivations, and to understand ourselves and our world a little better. Sholom aminim, and all believe that it is good and it's a mitzvah to doubt and to question. Thank God for that. With the humility and wisdom that comes from a powerful cheshbon nefesh, an honest check of our souls, with the encouragement that we are a community which together seeks to know not merely the faults of others, but the imperfections within ourselves, with the strength that comes from standing within a powerful tradition of understanding and broadness of the spirit, that we face the days, weeks, and months to come with a renewed resolve to understand each other, to climb under the table, to understand, and to seek and to see the world from each other's eyes, and to find ways to stand up and to walk together into a better, sweeter new year. Shana Tova Tikatevu, may you and your loved ones be inscribed for a year of understanding, of love, of better tomorrows, and of ever increasing shalom.